Don't you hate it when you tell a fairy tale like the Match Girl to little kids like my kids and they end up crying because it's so sad? Well, when I put on these magic reading glasses, I see a different outcome. I see that she lives and that she solves a problem. So let's take a look at how she does that. I'm Dr. Ting Ting. I'm here to reimagine stories so that tragic endings have a different destiny and carry a deeper lesson. Let's see what the Match Girl is up to and her new destiny through my magic reading glasses. Long, long ago, in the year 1835, snow lay thick over a little Danish town tucked between the sea and the forest. Chimneys puffed gentle clouds into the pale winter sky. Lanterns glowed behind the frosted windows. At the very edge of this quiet little town, where the houses were small and humble, lived a sweet little girl named Sophie. She lived with her loving grandmother in a cozy little house at the far edge of town. Life wasn't always easy, but it was filled with warmth, love, and the smell of fresh bread. Every morning, the sun would peek through the small window and fall upon the table scattered with candle molds, string, wooden matchboxes, and a little bit of wax. And besides them always smiling was Grandma. But this year, winter felt sharper, deeper, and more unforgiving than the year before. Sophie lived with her grandma alone. Her father was a sailor who traveled far across the cold northern seas and often difficult to return. Her mother had passed away years ago from illness. Even with such tragic loss, Sophie grew up wrapped in kindness and love with her grandma. As Christmas approached this year, the icy wind rattled through the roof and slipped through the cracks in the shutters. The cold wind entered their home. Grandma began coughing, first gently, then with a deep, shivering rasp. Soon she could no longer stand long enough to sell candles and matches in the marketplace. The house grew quieter and colder. The small pot above the fireplace stayed empty day after day. Sophie could feel the weight of worrying settling in her chest like a stone. One evening, she watched her grandma asleep. She saw her grandma face pale and tired in the glow of the firelight. Sophie thought to herself,
I must help my grandma to get well. She is all I have. Even though I am small and scared, I must do what I can to help my grandma.
Sophie decided to do what she saw her grandma do. Year after year, Grandma made candles and matches to sell in the market for just enough money for food, firewood, and simple joys. With food running out and the winter winds howling outside, Sophie knew what she must do. She has to act, or Grandma will have no chance to survive this winter. One day, Sophie bravely slipped into her little boots, gathered up the candles and matches Grandma made, and stepped into the frosted streets. With the cold wind cutting into her face, she bravely walked towards the market. Every step felt like a heavy blanket over her, with a cold, silent sky, nothing but the howling wind. Snowflakes drifted downward, whispering as they touched the ground. The cold air hit her face like 1,000 little needles. Her breath clouded before her as she walked towards the bustling center of the town. There she stood, Sophie, small, trembling, her cheeks turning pink from the cold, calling out with as much strength as she could manage.
Matches, candles, matches here. Please, matches. I have matches.
Hours passed. The snow piled upon her shoulders. People rushed by, wrapped in warm coats, busy with holiday errands. The market was alive with hurried steps and chattering townfolk wrapped in thick coats. They brushed past her, too busy to hear her tiny little voice. No one looked at her. Snow clung to her hands and her hair. Her little fingers were turning red and stiff from the cold. She could hardly move them. As snow piled on her shoulders and her boots soaked through, her hair began to freeze with sparkling icicles. She felt alone, unseen, overwhelmed, exhausted, and hungry. Sophie sank to the ground in despair, in the quiet corner of the market square, and her eyelids grew heavy.
Maybe I'll just rest for a moment.
Sophie tried to stay brave, but the cold crept deeper and deeper until it reached her bones. Her eyelids felt heavy, the world blurred around the edges. She sat down beside the stone wall, resting in a soft mound of snow beneath her. The snow, once icy, now felt strangely warm, inviting her to sleep. She felt small, invisible, like the world had forgotten her. But deep in her heart, a flicker of hope remained, the hope that she might earn enough money to bring home food and a doctor for Grandma. As she dreamed about this possibility, her breath slowed and vision dimmed, and she started falling asleep. Just when Sophie could no longer stay awake, she felt the sound of soft footsteps approaching her in the snow. She saw a boy about her age came into view, bundled in a warm coat and a hat, and holding a little white dog in its carrier. The boy's name is Conrad, and his eyes widened with worry when he saw her, his heart heavy with the sight of her falling asleep in the snow.
Hello there. Are you all right? What are you selling?
Matches and candles. Matches here.
Sophie's voice was barely a whisper, but Conrad can hear the exhaustion and despair behind it.
We are about to eat. Would you care to join us? I'm Conrad. These are my parents. Come, you can come eat with us. You don't have to be alone. It is getting dark.
Sophie was starving, so hungry her stomach ached and growled in the quiet of the snowy street. She hadn't eaten for days. Every step she took, every hour she stood in the cold, drained the last bits of strength from her little body. When Conrad spoke to her, she tried to answer, but her voice was soft and scared. She hesitated, unsure if she could trust this kindness. People walked past her all day without a single glance. Why would this boy be any different? But Conrad can see the truth in her trembling hands and pale lips. He sensed her fear, shyness, and exhaustion.
Thank you. I don't know what to say.
Gentle care and kindness, Conrad reached out, wrapped his hand around hers. It was warm, steady, and safe. Sophie blinked with surprise. She hadn't felt warmth like that all day. Not from fire, not from food, not from people who passed her by. This warmth was different. It was the warmth of kindness. Conrad helped her to her feet. Sophie's legs wobbled beneath her, weak from hunger and cold. For a moment, she thought she might collapse right back into the snow. But Conrad held her up, supporting her gently, as if she were made of glass. That small, simple moment, Sophie felt her world shift. In her hour of despair, someone finally saw her, and in Conrad's steady hands, she felt, perhaps for the first time that day, that she was not alone.
This is my dog Fido. He's always happy, always cheerful.
Conrad smiled gently as Sophie steadied herself, still trembling from the cold. In his arms, the little white dog wiggled with excitement, tail thumping against Conrad's coat.
See how he's wagging his tail? That means he likes you.
Fido leaned forward, nose twitching curiously in the cold air. Truly, Fido's tail was moving so fast it looked like it might fly off.
He must like you a lot. Come on, let's get you out of this cold.
Sophie blinked in surprise as the dog gave a soft, friendly bark, as if to say hello. Conrad's kindness felt like a blanket wrapped around her, with Fido wagging his tail right between them and snowflakes drifting softly from the gray sky. It doesn't feel as cold as it used to. Conrad guided Sophie towards the warmth and safety she so desperately needed today. Conrad gently asked,
What is your name?
My name is Sophie.
Very lovely to meet you, Sophie. These are my parents, my father George and my mother Marie.
Marie gently smiled at her and extended a warm welcome.
Welcome, Sophie. We are so glad you can join us today. I hope my son isn't too much trouble. He means well, Make yourself at home.
George watched his son Conrad with a broad, proud grin spreading across his face. In that moment, he saw not just a boy helping someone in need, but a young man Conrad was becoming, thoughtful, compassionate, and brave enough to act when others simply walked by. This was the fairy Christmas spirit George had always hoped to teach his son. The courage to show kindness, the instinct to help, the heart to see someone suffering and trying to ease it. Seeing Conrad take Sophie's hand gently, steadying her trembling legs, and offering comfort through warmth, made George feel so much pride that not even the cold winter wind could touch. He felt joy, not just for the good deed itself, but for the mature, caring individual Conrad was growing into. His one small act of compassion shows how big his heart was becoming.
Sophie, my son Conrad has a very good heart. He can be a bit direct at times, but don't let that alarm you. He means well in everything he does, and you are welcome in our home, truly. Come inside where it's warm. You need food, rest, and safety. It is Christmas time after all. And Christmas is when a community comes together to share what we have and to care for one another. You're not alone anymore.
Conrad's home glowed like a little sun against the winter darkness. As Sophie stepped inside, her frozen fingers tingled painfully as they thawed. The smell of warm dishes drifted through the air, inviting, comforting, and rich. Fido wagged his tail as if to welcome her home. With each bite, strength returned to her, and slowly color returned to her cheeks. As she ate, Conrad asked softly,
Sophie, do you mind sharing with me why you were selling matches alone in the cold?
Sophie hesitated. She's not sure if she should tell her story, her sick grandma, the empty cupboards, her wish to find a doctor, her fear of losing the only family she has left. The room felt quiet. Even Fido whined softly, as if he understood. Sophie softened. The fear she carried all day melted with the warmth of the family's kindness. For the first time in a long time, she felt safe, and she softly shared her story. Her eyes glistened as she spoke.
I need to help my grandma. I lost my mother when I was 5, and I haven't seen my father in years. He's a sailor, always somewhere far across the sea. My grandma, she's all I have left, and now she's ill, very ill. I needed money for a doctor, and food for her. I'm so scared of losing her too.
Conrad and his parents' hearts tightened with sympathy. In the quiet that followed, the room seemed to hold its breath. The flickering fire cast a soft glow on Sophie's worried face, revealing just how heavy her small world had become. In that silence, Conrad's family understood. This wasn't just a little girl selling matches. This was a child fighting with everything she had left, save the only person left in her world. Conrad listened closely, his young face tightened with concern. Sophie's words lingered in the warm air, raw, trembling, and heavy. He understood the gravity of what she's carrying. This wasn't a small problem he could fix with a kind word. This was fear, real fear, the kind that sat in the heart like a cold stone. But Conrad also knew something else. Letting Sophie sink deeper into worry would only hurt her more. She needed warmth, comfort, and a glimpse of hope. Something to lift her out of the darkness she's been standing in for far too long. Inside, Conrad's mind was racing.
Doctor, food, money. How do I help her? What can I do to help her?
His thoughts were frantic, spinning as he searched for an answer. But on the outside, he offered her something steady.
Sophie, what do you enjoy doing for fun? You've carried so much on your own, but you don't have to anymore. I'm here to help you. Tell me, what do you enjoy doing? What makes you happy? There must be something. The answer might be in your passions and talents you naturally have.
Conrad shifted closer, speaking softly, trying to draw her away from fear and towards something brighter. Hope.
Ow. It's been a long time since anyone asked me such a simple question. For fun, I love to read. When I open a book, it feels like I can escape, like I can step into another world where things aren't so heavy. I also enjoy making little toys with crochet. I used to make tiny frogs and bumblebees. I haven't had yarn for a long time, so I haven't made anything recently. But if I had the materials, I could make them again, frogs, bees, little things that make children smile.
Conrad wasn't ignoring her pain. He was giving her a fresh breath of air, a moment of light onto the darkness she's stuck in. As Sophie spoke, Conrad's eyes darted to the corner of the room where his mother stored old craft baskets.
Yarn, of course. Maybe that's the answer.
Conrad kept his voice calm, warm, and reassuring. He wanted Sophie to feel hope.
Frogs and bees, really? If you had yarn, could you make them quickly?
Yes, I believe I can, very quickly.
You're in luck. I happen to have green, yellow, and black yarn. Perhaps you can teach me to crochet too. Work twice as fast and sell lots of toys for Christmas. Don't you take a quick rest and warm up by the fire, Sophie? I'll go gather all the yarn we have so we can get to work.
It would be wonderful, Conrad.
Sophie's heart fluttered with hope. Something that had felt impossible only hours ago, saving her grandmother, suddenly seemed within reach. The heavy fear she's been carrying all day slowly lifted, lightened by Conrad's steady presence and the way he stood beside her, offering not just kindness but real solutions. Warmth from the fire wrapped around her like a soft blanket. Her eyelids, heavy from cold and exhaustion, finally drifted closed. For the first time that day, her face relaxed, no longer pale, no longer frozen, now softly glowing in the golden firelight. As Sophie slipped peacefully into sleep, Conrad rose quietly to his feet. Determination flashed in his eyes. Without wasting a moment, he rushed to find his parents, carrying a desperate plea on his lips and fierce resolve in his heart.
Please, can I have some money for yarn? I don't actually have any. I told Sophie. I did, so she wouldn't worry. But she needs our help. She really does.
Of course, son. We are proud of you.
Conrad raced to the market through the snowy streets, his boots crunching sharply on the frozen ground. The wind stung his cheeks, but he didn't slow down, not even for a moment. He darted from stall to stall until he found exactly what he needed: soft yarn in the shades of green, yellow, black. He touched each bundle carefully, choosing the warmest, softest yarn he could find, imagining them becoming tiny little frogs and bumblebees in Sophie's skilled hands. With hurried breaths, he purchased all the yarn they would need, then he sprinted back home, snowing flying behind him. Lanterns flickered overhead, swaying gently in the icy breeze, casting a warm, golden halo against the dark, wintry sky. Determined to return before Sophie awoke. And when he slipped quietly back through the door, cradling the yarn against his chest, he acted as if he owned it all along, never wanting Sophie to feel guilty or burdened. The next morning, the sunlight spilled through the windows, painting a soft gold glow across the room. For the first time in days, Sophie heard laughter fill the air. Sophie sat beside Conrad, warming her fingers in the glow of the fire as bright bundles of yarn surrounded them. She guided Conrad's hand gently, showing him how to hold the crochet hook, how to twist the yarn, how to pull each loop through with care. Conrad fumbled adorably, looping the yarn backwards, tangling it into knots, accidentally making crooked, lopsided shapes. Sophie giggled, hearted, free, and genuine. Fido barked excitedly, wagging his tail as if cheering them on. Hour after hour, stitch after stitch, the room transformed. Little green frogs and tiny little bees lined up around them. And in that warm room, something beautiful began to happen. Piece by piece, loop by loop, joy slowly stitched itself back into Sophie's life.
No, hold the hook like this.
I'm very clumsy. I think I just made a frog with a wing. How do you move so quickly and so accurately, Sophie?
I think you are doing really well. You may very well have a future in crochet, Mr. Conrad. See right there? That's perfect. You are doing it right. See, the frog is appearing. Keep going.
Wow, Sophie, you made 10 in the time it took me to finish one. You're fantastic, truly, you're so talented. I'm completely impressed by your skill. Little kids around here are going to love these as Christmas gifts. And I deliver newspapers, so I know exactly which houses have small children. After we finish, we'll go door to door and sell them as Christmas presents. And good news, my parents have already contacted the doctor. He'll be visiting your grandma tonight. So we must go quickly, Sophie. We have so much to do.
Conrad, I don't know how to express my gratitude. Thank you. Thank you so much. I never imagined anyone would help me like this. Truly, I don't know how to repay you for your kindness.
You don't have to repay me, Sophie. Really, you don't owe me anything at all. Helping you just feels right. Besides, you already gave me something. Your friendship. That's more than enough. And you taught me something too, Sophie. Something important. I always wondered what my purpose would be, whether I'd follow my dad and join his law firm someday, or do something completely different I never really knew. But helping you, it made me realise I have something to give. I want to help people solve problems. I want to make life better for others when I can. I think maybe that's what I'm meant to do. Thank you, Sophie, for showing me that compassion can create new opportunities. For you, for your grandma, and for me too. You helped me see that I can be of use in this world. This makes me feel truly happy and fulfilled to be part of your story.
They went door to door through the snowy streets, knocking gently on each wooden door. And to their delight, the townspeople loved the handmade toys. Every silly little green frog, every buzzing yellow and black bee. The children squealed with joy, parents smiled warmly, and one by one, each toy found a new home.
Mama, please, can I have one? The bee is so cute. My sister would love the frog. Please, please.
Yes, we will take these. Thank you, these are lovely. You guys make fine toys.
We are so glad you guys love these. That makes us so happy.
Mama, I love this. It is so soft. The frog is so cute. And look, Lily loves the bee. Buzz, buzz, the bee is flying.
Wow, these are quite cute and soft. You guys make a fine team. Yes, we will take these for our children. Thank you, and Merry Christmas to you both.
It is so fun to see the kids enjoy my creations. I never thought this was possible to reach so many people with my work. Conrad, I just want to say that I've truly never met anyone like you before. I'm so incredibly grateful for everything you've done for me, and I honestly can't put into words how much this has meant. Doing this with you has made the entire journey so much more fun and so much less lonely. Running around town and knocking on doors with you is genuinely one of the most fun things I've ever done in my life. You turned something that could have felt overwhelming and scary into something exciting and unforgettable. I wish I could do something for you in return, because thank you doesn't feel like enough. Even after all of this is over, I really hope we stay friends. I'd love to keep spending time with you, because this experience and your presence in it has meant more to me than I can explain.
Of course, Sophie. I feel the same way. Meeting you was truly a gift. So much has shifted within me since our paths crossed. I feel clearer about my purpose, about what it means to serve others with intention and heart. I've genuinely treasured every moment we've spent together, from learning how to crochet, to sharing laughter, to bringing smiles to children who needed them most. Those moments will stay with me. I'm grateful that, in my own small way, I could offer some support on your journey, to help your grandma, to protect your family, and to remind you that you weren't alone. I would truly love to stay in touch if you'd like. I hope we see each other often after all of this. I'm deeply glad we found each other, and I'm excited for what the future holds, for you, for me, and for our friendship.
Just yesterday, I was out in the cold selling matches, scared and completely alone. And today, I feel warm, supported, and genuinely grateful that I met you. I'm glad I stepped out into the cold and took a chance on something magical this Christmas. Looking back now, I think meeting you was the gift I was meant to receive.
At the end of the evening, Sophie's little pouch overflowed with money, far more than she had ever dreamed of earning. With the money they earned, Sophie and Conrad and his parents loaded a small carriage filled with food, blankets, and all the necessities that they could gather. Snowflakes drifted softly around them as the carriage rolled through the quiet night towards Sophie's home. They reached a tiny house on the edge of town. The windows were dark but familiar. Sophie's breath caught in her chest. Just days before, she left this place in fearful desperation, alone, cold, convinced that she might lose her grandmother forever. Now she's returning, surrounded by love and kindness and community. Moments later, the doctor arrived, stepping through the door with his bag of medicine, filled the room with reassurance and warmth, and gave Grandma the medicine she needed to get well. Sophie stood nearby, hands clasped to her chest, feeling the weight of everything that's been lifted off of her. She remembered the hopelessness she felt just days before when she left her home, and compared it to this moment, this miracle where warmth, kindness, and support surrounded her like a glowing Christmas tree in the dark. She felt tears gather in her eyes. Yes, this truly was a Christmas miracle. When Grandma finally opened her eyes and saw Sophie standing there safe and smiling, breath caught in her throat. She stared for a moment, unable to speak, as if afraid the sight before her might disappear if she blinked. She had been terrified when she awoke earlier and found Sophie gone. She imagined every worst possibility, her sweet granddaughter alone in the freezing streets, hungry, lost, or worse. The fear had wrapped around her heart like icy chains. But now here was Sophie, safe and sound. There was hope. Grandma's gaze shifted to the food, the blankets, the doctor, the warmth that Conrad's family brought into the house. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Her lips trembled, tears swelled in her eyes, heavy drops of tears with gratitude and relief. Without a word, she reached out with shaking arms. Sophie rushed into Grandma's embrace, burying her face in her grandma's shoulders as the two clung to each other, trembling with emotion. Years of hardship, fear, and love poured into that single hug. The room seemed to glow brighter, with the soft shimmer of the firelight dancing along the walls, the comforting scent of bread filling the air, and the deep warmth of love wrapping around them all.
Oh, Sophie, my sweet little girl, you came back to me. I am so glad you're safe. You brought us a miracle, Sophie.
Actually, it was all Conrad. I don't know what I would have done without him.
No, you were too kind. Sophie, you made your own miracle. I only happened to witness it.
And who is this? He is so cute.
Sophie blushed.
Grandma, this is Conrad.
I think she is talking about my dog Fido. Say, hi, Fido.
The house was filled with laughter and Christmas joy. As the years passed, Sophie blossomed into a skilled businesswoman. Her love of crocheting turned into something magical. In the heart of the city, she opened a small, cheerful shop called Sophie's Shop, a place filled with colors, yarn, toys, and laughter. Children felt her toys were enchanted. Adults admired the detail woven into every stitch. From the moment anyone walked into the store, they were greeted by bursts of colors, toys, and laughter. She moved her grandma to a home near Conrad's family, and they became neighbors, classmates, and lifelong friends. Every Christmas, children from all over the town visited Sophie's shop, eager for the new gifts and warm stories they brought to them. Sophie and her grandma never worried about money again, all because of kindness, friendship, and the magic of helping one another. So Sophie's Christmas wasn't just saved, it became the happiest she would ever know. Conrad grew up too, finding his own path. Inspired by the night he helped Sophie, he eventually started a company called Conrad Consulting, dedicated to helping families and small businesses solve financial problems. He worked tirelessly, determined to bring hope to others just as he once brought hope to Sophie. While in college, Conrad and Sophie wrote to each other often. As soon as Conrad felt settled in his own career, he finally waited until Christmas to kneel down and ask Sophie the one question he's carried around his heart for years.
Sophie, will you marry me?
I wondered when you would finally ask. Yes, of course I will. I will always be yours.
I was waiting until I could support you, not the other way around.
They both laughed, the same soft laughter that once filled the room full of yarn and toy frogs and little bumblebees. Sophie never forgot the night a boy named Conrad saw her sitting alone in the snow and chose kindness instead of walking away. She knew deep in her heart that Conrad had been meant for her to be part of her life forever. They wed on Sophie's 22nd birthday, which happened to be in December, just days before Christmas. Snow drifted gently around them as the townspeople gathered outside the chapel, celebrating the love story that became part of their town's history. Every winter after, people would say, Sophie and Conrad's miracle showed us all how to be kind. Sophie's life became a warm, glowing reminder that even the smallest act of kindness can change someone's life forever. In this small Danish town, whenever snow begins to fall before Christmas, people would whisper, "This is where Sophie's miracle began."